This video is meant to be a heads up for those that are doing motor mounts soon on their car. So if you have a M113 car, and this generally applies to most of them, I just want to point out that you can run the CLK Black Series engine mounts. I'm talking about the CLK63 Black Series. So both of these cars have it. They are direct bolt-in and they fit. So if your motor mounts are severely worn, you'll notice that your engine sits lower. So at least on the 210 with this air box, it's kind of supposed to be flush with this little seal right here. Mine was super low. It was sagging. So now it's actually sitting in its correct position. But you also feel the engine shifting around if you're flooring it. There's a lot of ways to tell. You can also put the car in drive, hold the brake and hit the gas and see if the engine moves. So there's a lot of ways to diagnose it, but generally most of the time, if it's been a couple of years, your motor mounts are due. So why go with the CLK Black Series mounts? Well, they are supposed to be stiffer and more durable. I know a lot of people get scared that I said stiffer, but they're really imperceivable from how OEM mount feels, at least in my opinion. So these two cars have it. Even before I changed the mount on that, they felt the same. And I've driven cars with new OEM mounts and it really doesn't feel any different. It just feels like the engine's more stable, the engine moves around a lot less, and they should last longer. Here is the part number, A240-240-0817. You will need two of them. So one thing that's interesting is if you know the 240 part number, that is the Maybach chassis code, the Maybach from the 2000s, like the 57 and 62. So I kind of assume that this also applies for that car, but the main car that uses this is the CLK Black Series. So I don't have the mounts to show you, but they're just motor mounts. They look just like this, except they're not collapsed, probably closer to this one. This one's less collapsed. So that top piece will be a little bit higher. It looks just like that. And then it comes with a heat shield. It's just a rubber little kind of protective thing. It goes over it. You want to use that when you install it. Don't forget that so it doesn't deteriorate faster than it should. It bolts right up. No issue on either of these cars. I got these from FCP Euro. You can also get them from Pelican Parts or any other online auto parts retailer, even the dealer. You can see these are factory parts. Of course, they sell them at the dealer. And of course, prices will vary. Another upgrade you could do to these cars in terms of mounts is the transmission mount. So the transmission mount from the CLK63 Black Series will also work. I believe is the same as the SLK55 Black Series because the part number starts with 171 and has a chassis code for that car. So I don't have one to show you. I'll just post a picture of what is available online, but basically it looks just like this, except it is missing one of these holes. So the way it mounts on a 210 at least, you need a front and back hole, just one for the bolts. On the Black Series mount, you'll have one here and then one and two. So three, and then the middle one is missing. So you can either just drill and tap the threads into the mount itself, or you could drill holes into the little metal plate that holds the mount to the car. We did the plate on that car, so the plate's drilled 2 extra holes for the Black Series mount. So that's not the only physical difference. If you look through the mount, you'll see there are supports on the left and right side, but the center, there's nothing at the bottom. It's hollow. The Black Series mount will have a support at the bottom, so it'll have 1, 2, 3 instead of 2, and the rubber is also supposed to be stiffer. Now the Black Series transmission mount is about 10 times the price, probably more than a standard replacement. So it is kind of not worth it for a lot of people, but a great alternative is the 212 E63 transmission mount. It bolts right up. I believe it has the correct hole positions and it also has that third support. I just think the rubber is not as stiff, but it's still better than this. And it's about a quarter of the cost of the Black Series mount. Another little suggestion I've seen people do is they fill in all these gaps with window sealer, like the stuff that you use to mount a windshield. So that stuff's pretty thick. It's like butyl. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's basically a rubber. So you just fill in all these gaps and then it's almost a solid mount. Of course, there's a lot of aftermarket mounts you can go do that are polyurethane that are just solid. So that's totally up to you. But the Black Series stuff fits right in. It rides just like stock, and in theory, it should last much longer. So I won't be replacing the parts in this video. It's just more like FYI is telling you you can use these parts. Post the part numbers up in the description. So hopefully this is helpful to someone. And luckily all these parts just swap right in. You don't need to modify anything besides the little bracket for the transmission, which is actually no big deal. You could drill a hole. It's a pretty thick piece of metal. It's not going to compromise it in any way. Just make sure you get the right drill bits. I've been driving this car daily with the Black Series mounts and I really haven't been able to tell that it's stiffer. So highly recommend it to everybody. And the car feels really stable. Like when you get on the gas, you don't feel the engine shifting as much. You will definitely feel the engine moving around if your mounts are shot. That car, I had the stock mounts and they were shot and it felt pretty bad. Once I replaced them, now the car feels super solid. It feels just like new, maybe even better than new because the mounts are a little bit stiffer. So hope you found the video informative. Thank you for watching.